Hey, it's Dave. I thought I would talk today about the four tones that you can get out of a stock P bass. And for years, I thought really there were only two tones that a P bass had. I thought you either had everything all the way up, or you had the tone all the way off. It was the only two tones I always thought the P bass had. But there's really two other tones that it has. The first one is, of course, with the tone up and the volume all the way up, and it's a great rock tone. Tons of rock songs use that sound. The other thing that it's good for is I always thought it was just like the best sound for blues. It's a good blues sound. Another thing that the P bass does, and this is one of those tones, the second tone I want to talk about, which is a tone I didn't discover until probably about 6 or 7 years ago, which is where you can take the volume knob and turn it down just a hair. The tone's still all the way up and the volume's up. And what that does is when you turn the volume down, it actually rolls off not only the highs, but it rolls off the mids a little bit too. And it's a different sound than you can get from the tone knob. Because when you roll the tone knob back, if you were looking at the frequency graph, it goes straight across and all the highs are dropped out. But your mids are all still at the same spot. If you roll the volume back, what happens is it suppresses the mids and the highs because it's not a capacitor, it's a resistor. You're adding resistance into the circuit. Rather than with the tone knob, you're dumping the highs through a capacitor to ground. With the volume knob, you're cutting all of the frequencies down. And since the bass frequencies are stronger, because you think about the pickup and the string, it's actually like a little generator. So the bass signals are a lot stronger, so they can kind of overcome that resistance and get through at a stronger level than the mids and the highs can. So you get just a different tone. Let's see. I'm trying to think of the song. Kind of a John Paul Jones sounding tone, and there's a lot of uses for that tone. I think it's a little bit more of a refined sound with some rolled off highs. So experiment with that. So just try rolling your volume back, till about, if you have the dial with the numbers on it, till like 7 or 8. And you'll see that there's a different sound. That's a different sound than if I turn the tone all the way off, which is our third sound. You can tell that sounds different. It's got a lot more mid-range signal in that sound than the other one. And the main use for this sound, I've always thought, was reggae. That kind of approximates that reggae sound. And I'm sure a lot of those reggae guys used P basses. I remember seeing a reggae band one time years ago that had a killer bass sound, and he was playing one of those Ampeg baby basses. And man, that thing really sounded great for reggae. I was really surprised by that. And then, like, the last sound that we can get with a P bass is by taking the volume, and if you mess with your volume, it'll wah wah. I'm not getting a real good signal here with it. Let me see here. What did I did something. That's what happens when you try to shoot a video. Everything goes wrong. You get that sound kind of like a wah wah pedal, and the tone right before it before it shuts down and dumps all the highs, about right there. There's another tone. You're still getting a little high and you can adjust it. You're just rolling the highs off a little bit, but you're leaving the rest of the signal there. A lot of guys, that is like a tone that a lot of different players really like, myself included, especially for like country. That is just a great tone. Too much fun. I gotta stop that. But you can get kind of a really good country sound, like roots music. There's a lot of different types of music that kind of sound would really fit into really well. Just rolling the highs off just a little bit right before the tone does the wah. That's when you roll it off. So hopefully that gave you something to think about or something to experiment with on your own P-Bass. And then there's, of course, lots of little variations of those sounds in between. And try messing around with rolling that volume knob back. I love that sound. It's one of my favorite sounds on a P-Bass, is just to leave the tone up and just roll the volume back a little bit. It just kind of just smooths it out. It takes a little of that woody honk out of it. And in some situations, that can be a good thing. I think in a rock and roll situation, that's a bad thing. You want as much woody honk as you can get in a rock and roll situation. But in a lot of other types of music, pulling that back some really sounds good. So hopefully that helped you. Thanks.